Welcome to the Invite Health podcast, where our degreed healthcare professionals are excited to offer you the most important health and wellness information you need to make informed choices about your health. You can learn more about the products discussed in each of these episodes and all that Invite Health has to offer at www.invitehealth.com/podcast. First-time customers can use promo code podcast at checkout for an additional 15% off your first purchase. Let's get started.
A number of clients have inquired how the 3 COVID-19 vaccines compare. Now, there's no head-to-head trials. They don't exist. But we could still go over the key characteristics of each, so I thought it was important to do an episode on this. So welcome to our episode, How Do COVID-19 Vaccines Compare? I'll do a follow-up on some helpful do's and don'ts to make the vaccine more effective, including covering some nutritional supplements. Hi, my name is Jerry Hickey. I'm a pharmacist who also has studied nutrition. I'm the Chief Scientific Officer over here at Invite Health. Thanks for tuning into the episode and our podcast at Invite Health. You can find all of our episodes for free wherever you listen to your podcast, or just go to invitehealth.com/podcast. Please subscribe and please leave us a review. You can also follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at Invite Health. The info on this episode is linked at the episode description, so let's get going. This is important stuff. The vaccine I received and my wife is the Pfizer-BioNTech vaccine. Now, it's an mRNA vaccine. That's its mechanism of action, how it works. So what they do, they take some messenger RNA, and I better explain that briefly. You have DNA, which is the template for everything that happens in your body. Messenger RNA are the workers that transcribe everything. So they take some messenger RNA, and this causes immune cells to create antibodies to the COVID-19 virus. Now, the messenger RNA quickly is destroyed, so there's no lasting problem, and it's turning out to be very safe. They normally give 2 doses, 21 days apart. You get your first dose, you get your second dose 3 weeks apart. 7 days after your second immunization, you're 95% resistant after the second dose. The original trial was on almost 44,000 people, age 16 and up. The most common side effect is fatigue, minor headaches, both being more prominent after the second dose. There's a reason for that. In the first dose, you get a little myalgia, you get a little muscle pain. That goes away in about 2 days. By the second dose, you've built up some antibodies. So when you get the second dose, your body reacts more to it. So you can get a mild headache, fatigue, and still some, you're probably going to get some pain at the site of injection. Generally, these reactions, the side effects, are milder for people over the age of 55 than for younger people. Now, severe reactions to this and the Moderna are extremely rare, and most of them occur in women, but they're extremely rare. Even for women, they're extremely rare. The reason they're probably more common in women, scientists are speculating, is that men have an X and a Y chromosome. Women have 2 X chromosomes, and a lot of immune-related genes are imprinted on the X chromosome. So that could be why women have more of a reaction to the immunization. That's possibly also why women have a higher incidence of autoimmune diseases, which are not related to the immunization. Now, what about the variants? You hear about the variant from Brazil, you hear about the variant from South Africa, the variant from London. There's no clinical data, there's no studies on this, but lab studies, minor studies, have shown that the South African variant may reduce antibody titers by 2/3. So a titer is the number of antibodies. So what does that mean for you? It'll still keep you out of the hospital. It's still working. Now, what about the second one, Moderna? That's also a messenger RNA vaccine, where they take a little bit of RNA and it imprints the ability to create antibodies within your cells. Normally it's 2 doses. They're 28 days apart. So now, when is it effective? 2 weeks after your second dose, it's about 94% effective. So the Pfizer one works a little bit faster. The original trial was on about 31,000 people aged 18 and over. What about the side effects? Overall, a fever, chills, headache, myalgia. Myalgia is deep muscle pain. That 60% of the participants after the first dose and 80% of the participants after the second dose. So it seems the reactions are a little bit more to the Moderna. Still not an issue. It's a lot safer to get this immunization, a million times safer to get this immunization than to have COVID-19, because COVID-19 is so unpredictable. You can have a super overweight diabetic in their 60s who do okay with COVID-19, and then you could have a fitness coach who's 25 years of age working out 3 times a week at Gold's Gym, and they could have a terrible reaction to COVID-19. So it's important to get immunized. My wife got immunized. She had a little muscle pain. The first time it went away in 2 days. The second shot, she had the Pfizer one. The second shot, muscle pain, and this time you could throw a little fatigue in, tiny bit of a headache, nothing really. What about me? I had more of a reaction to the first dosage. In the first dosage, about a half an hour after the first dosage, I had a tiny headache that went away in a half an hour. I had muscle pain within about 10 minutes of the immunization. That lasted for 3 days, and fatigue for 2 days. But I was also working a tremendous amount of hours, doing an awful lot of radio programs and podcasts, etc. So it could have been that too. On the second immunization, I had very little reaction. I just had myalgia, the muscle pain. I had the muscle pain, but it was there, believe me. So now, what about the Moderna? The variants. What about the variants? No clinical data also. Lab studies. So they don't, clinical data meaning no data on people. Lab studies, no significant impact on neutralizing antibodies with the variant from the UK. A 6-fold reduction in neutralizing antibodies with the South African variant. But what does that mean? You still have resistance to it. It's still going to keep you out of the intensive care unit. Now let's discuss the Johnson & Johnson Janssen vaccine. That's an adenovirus vector vaccine. So they take a different virus, a non-COVID-19 related virus, and they modify that virus. It can't infect you. None of these 3 immunizations can cause an infection. They can cause mild reactions, but not an infection. So they take a different virus and they modify it, and that delivers the instructions to create antibodies to COVID-19. Now, it's 1 dose. The Johnson & Johnson is 1 dose. Although they're looking into doing a 2-dose regimen. That's under evaluation. Efficacy, how well does it work? 72% in the United States strains, 66% globally against moderate to severe disease, 85% effective against severe disease. You have pretty good resistance after 28 days after that single dose. The original trial was on about 44,000 people age 18 and up. The most common side effects, headache. 39% of people in the study had a headache. 38% had fatigue. 33% had myalgia. Now, once again, that's deep muscle pain. 14% had nausea. 9% had fever. What about the variants? It's 57% efficacious against the South African variant, so that's good news. 66% efficacious against the South American. Brazil was among the countries studied. So all 3 of these immunizations approved in the United States work. They all have been proven to help prevent severe disease and keep you out of the intensive care unit and certainly prevent you from dying. They do have an impact on the variants that's showing up. Not perfect, but it'll keep you out of hospital. That's what it looks like. Now, what about other things? Are there things that can help the immunization work better? What about things that could prevent it from working? Well, a lot of alcohol seems to affect its ability to work. Alcohol suppresses your immune system. Not a lot of data on that, but it does seem to be a problem. Lack of sleep. We'll get into that. That's really important. Lack of sleep is important. You want to get enough sleep the day before and the day after you get your immunization. The day of and the day after. You really do. It really makes a difference in the amount of antibodies you create. Certain nutrients seem to be important, and we'll go into that right now. Now, what about things to avoid that you put in your mouth besides alcohol? Well, there are some websites saying you shouldn't take drugs that are anti-inflammatory. like ibuprofen and naproxen and aspirin. I don't know if there's any real clinical data on that. I couldn't find any study truly saying that. So that's guesswork. But then you probably have to add in the very powerful anti-inflammatory nutrients, like well-absorbed turmeric or devil's claw. I would add those in there just to be cautious. I wouldn't start taking those again until a week or two after your second dosage of the Moderna. Well, no, the second week of the Pfizer, the third week of the Moderna, or 28 days or more after your Johnson & Johnson immunization. So there are sites saying you shouldn't be on Advil and Aleve. I don't know how true it is, but better to be safe than sorry. What about supplements you should take? Well, here's the journal Perspectives on Psychological Science. It's Ohio State University. Annalise Madison, she's the first author of the paper. And they did a review of factors that can influence the effectiveness of the COVID-19 vaccine. And it emphasizes the importance of a healthy diet, like a plant-based diet, rich in antioxidants, high in fiber. That's a consideration of bolstering the immune response to a vaccine. Why? Well, fiber feeds you good bacteria, and bifidobacteria, the kind that create butyric acid, improve immune system function. So that is a reasonable thing. They also said that, according to this report, these findings suggest that the COVID-19 vaccine, when people are more stressed and more anxious, it may take a little longer to develop antibodies. Yeah, because when you're stressed out, when you're anxious, you release stress hormones from the adrenal gland, these two little triangular-shaped glands atop each kidney, and these stress hormones inhibit the immune system. So they go on to say, so they should probably allow a little more time before they assume they're protected. So if you're really stressed, it could delay the antibody response to your immunization. So instead of 1 week after the Pfizer vaccine, you should wait 2 weeks. Instead of 2 weeks after the second Moderna vaccine, you should wait 3 weeks. And instead of 28 days after the Johnson & Johnson vaccine, you should probably wait like 40 days to have complete resistance. But you know what? I'm wondering if releasing the stress hormones when you're anxious or stressed out, if that's actually eroding the response. I can't find any studies on that. Would that actually inhibit the competence of your immune system to create as many antibodies as you need in general? No, I can't find any data on that. So being stressed, does it put the kibosh on your immune system and you can't make enough antibodies? So you really have to, take steps to get your stress under control. I'll tell you a couple of supplements that can help with stress. L-Theanine, which is an amino acid that comes out of the green tea plant. L-Theanine relaxes you and helps with stress without making you tired. So you could take it while you're at work or while you're using power tools or while you're driving your car. That's one way. Panax ginseng, that can be helpful. The American ginseng, that could be helpful. All three of those, they're not going to make you sleepy. In fact, the Panax ginseng and the American ginseng tend to give you a little more energy, but they're very good for stress. So this review introduces a powerful factor, your gut bacteria, your gut microbiome. Now that's highly diet dependent, but you could take a probiotic with Bifidobacterium animalis subspecies lactis and other bifidobacteria. You could take that to help you out. Now, they also review other studies. I mean, just recently, a letter went out from leading experts to so many governments that people should be put on vitamin D supplements now. Vitamin D is important for the immune system. Vitamin D is important for the health of the lungs, so it's a good thing to be on when there's a pandemic anyway, especially one that affects your lungs, like COVID-19. But in one trial, this is from the review, elderly individuals who received a complete nutritional supplement containing vitamins and minerals and antioxidants had higher antibody levels 1 month after a flu vaccine compared to those who received a placebo. In another trial, this was in nursing home, very elderly people in nursing homes, they gave them a zinc supplement and it successfully increased the number of T cells after vaccines That's important because T cells rip viruses apart. There's also some evidence for vitamin A. I would throw in there melatonin also. Now we're going to get into sleep, and I'll go into melatonin here. This is why is sleep so important to vaccine efficacy, to make a vaccine work. So research shows there's an important link between fighting off infections and getting enough sleep. It has a great deal to do with your immune system. You boost your immune response. You boost your immune system when you get enough rest. And researchers are saying 7 to 8 hours a night for elderly people, because those are the people with, in general, the weakest immune systems. So there's studies from the United States and from different parts of Europe. People who get a good night's sleep and the nights before and after a vaccination, like for hepatitis B or for the flu, they produce more antibodies that is specific for the virus. And they produce more virus-specific memory immune cells than those who don't get enough sleep. So Uppsala University in Sweden did some of these studies. Now, there's a Dr. Christian Benedict. He's a PhD at Uppsala University in Sweden. He and a colleague recently wrote a paper discussing sleep and your response to vaccines. That was published in The Lancet, which is a British medical journal. The Lancet in England is kind of like the New England Journal of Medicine in the United States. In one study, he notes, people who received the vaccine for hepatitis A, if they had a poor night's sleep that night, so you got a hepatitis A vaccine that night, you didn't sleep well, you didn't build up enough antibodies to fight off hepatitis A. Well, that's not the worst thing in the world. Hepatitis A is more like the flu. It's not like hepatitis B or hepatitis C. So that's not the worst thing in the world, but it shows you how important sleep is for your immune system. The American Academy of Sleep Medicine has officially endorsed sleep as a proven way to get the most benefits from COVID-19 vaccines. Now, a lot of this information was written up recently by a journalist named Lynn Allison. You might want to Google her, Lynn Allison, and see what she wrote. You need sleep for immune function. One of the easiest ways to disrupt your immune system is to have a lousy night's sleep. I mean, it's just important. See, when you get a vaccine, the vaccine creates an immune response, and you imprint antibodies. And these antibodies, if somebody coughs or sneezes on you with a virus, or somehow you ingest a virus, they're already made, and they fight off the virus, and it prevents you from getting very, very sick. So how does melatonin play a part in this? There's a rhythm to your body. You sleep at night, you wake up in the morning, you eat in the daytime, you go to the bathroom at certain points of certain times of the day, you eat meals at certain times of the day. It's called circadian rhythm. At night, a lot of things go on. At night when you're sleeping, a lot of things go on. Like at night, you help control daytime pain. At night, you build bone. But another thing is, at night, you imprint immune messengers called cytokines. So if you're not sleeping, you're imprinting a lot fewer of these cytokines. Some of these cytokines activate the immune system, and other of these cytokines kind of put the immune system to rest. So it's very important for sleep. And they've shown that melatonin somehow is at the crux of this. You release melatonin when it's getting dark to set you up for sleep and all these things that occur at sleep in your sleep, and then you release other things in the morning to wake you up. If you don't release melatonin at night, your daytime immune system gets thrown off. And that's really clearly important. At night, you're in your own bed. Maybe you're with your significant other or your puppy or whatever, your kitty cat, but you're alone. So you're not in a factory, you're not in a shopping mall, you're not on a train, you're not on a bus. You're not surrounded by people with germs. So in the daytime, you are surrounded by people with germs. That's when your immune system is supposed to be active. If you're not sleeping at night, it throws the whole apple cart off, the whole system is off, and your immune system is not activating enough in the daytime, and that puts you at increased risk of infection. But this also has to do with imprinting, creating antibodies with your immunization. So if you're not sleeping, I would certainly look into melatonin, especially for 2 days before you get your immunization, the day of, and for a couple of days after, because you need to make those antibodies. So that's important. Make sure you have healthy bacteria by eating a really good diet. Maybe you want to take a probiotic. There are some excellent products out there. Not all probiotic supplements are the same. So you want to look for, if you can take a probiotic to help with your immune system, you want certain strains of lactobacilli, like Lactobacillus plantarum, Lactobacillus rhamnosus, Lactobacillus acidophilus, and Lactobacillus casei. Those are all good. And you want certain strains of Bifidobacterium, especially Bifidobacterium animalis subspecies lactis. You want to make sure you're rich in vitamin C and zinc and vitamin D. You want to sleep at night, so if you need melatonin, take it. Take like 3 milligrams 15 minutes before bed with minimal water, because you don't want to wake up in the middle of the night to have to go to the bathroom, to have to micturate. So before I got the vaccine, and now I just had my second immunization recently, I've been getting my zinc, my vitamin D3. I've been getting something called nucleotides. Nucleotides gives like instant energy to the immune system, so when the immune system gets energy like that, like a tonic, that gives the immune system energy to multiply the cells better. So that's what I've been doing, and I make sure I get enough sleep. So thanks for tuning in to the Invite Health Podcast. You can find all of our episodes for free wherever you listen to podcasts, or by visiting invitehealth.com/podcast. Please subscribe. Please leave me a review. I'd love to know how I'm doing. You can follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at Invite Health. Hope to see you another time on another episode of the Invite Health Podcast, and thank you so much for listening.